Oh wow. Okay. Starting off like that.
And
Yeah. Well, you said you went to a modern art museum recently. Did you want to talk about that?
it wasn't just modern art. I mean, it was just art in general, but I wanted to
Mm,
highlight the hatred I have towards modern art. There wasn't a ton of it, but like, and it's not even like super modern. I think like one of like the newest things I saw was from like 2021. Um, I guess it's not just modern art, but art in general is too subjective to me. Uh,
mhm,
and that's odd coming from me because I love art, and have a passion for it, you could say. But there's too much like bullshit in the art world. Like there's too
mhm,
much um, half-assed explanations to try to make something deeper or meaningful than it actually is. And I
mhm.
was noticing that a lot with like some of like the little descriptions that is next to a piece of artwork. I was reading it and just thinking to myself, this doesn't make any sense. And this could almost be AI generated in a way because the explanation had nothing to do with the actual art piece. And I feel like the artists are just coming up with these bullshit reasons why their piece of art is meaningful or it has weight.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I was just getting frustrated walking around the museum that these people have a platform and they're getting recognition for their their quote unquote art.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I remember I used to think that art historically, for a long time, I think most people would agree was in many ways quite stunning. At least renowned artists that were probably making the most money or were the most famous or influential, made works which more or less like depicted reality in an authentic way. I think, right? Like they tried to capture it almost like a photograph in a way.
Yeah.
And if there was variance in that, maybe they were trying to capture some of the emotional impact of whatever it was that they were depicting too, you know. But with the advent of photography and its popularization and advancing, like advancement over time, the need for art that authentically depicted the world became uh, no longer necessary, right? So I wonder, I don't think it's a coincidence that art has devolved um, more or less at the same time that photography came around. I could be totally wrong. Obviously, I'm not an art historian. That's just what it looks like to me, you know.
Right. Yeah, I actually read Susan Sontag's book on photography a
Mm-hmm.
little while ago, and she talks a lot about painting and about art because before photography, obviously, there was just painting.
Mm-hmm.
And she talked about the differences between the two things and like the similarities between them as well. But just how much photography captures reality so much better than a painting does. And kind of like you said with the introduction of photography and like the popularization of it, um, I guess it kind of allowed painters and other forms of art like that to be a little bit more unrealistic uh, with what they're trying to convey, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
which I guess it's not a bad thing, but for me personally, I really like art that is depicting real life or says
Mm-hmm.
something about real life. Uh, like I really hate like surrealism, like in painting, just because it doesn't make me feel anything. Obviously, I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's cool, like that's really impressive that they did that, but this means nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, especially with like abstract art, there's so much of it. I was looking at these blobs of shapes and colors, and then I'm reading the descriptions that say the artist's depiction of this certain shape and this certain color represents the passage of time. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. You
Oh,
know?
maybe it does. Maybe it does.
No,
You have to
dude,
be a little
no,
more
it doesn't.
open-minded
That's
about it.
no, no, that's
Uh,
crap.
I found myself most drawn to modern art when I'm going through an emotional crisis. I think I like the abstract nature of it. I like that they're, like you say, with like blobs of color, they're breaking down a normal painting into its constituent parts, what it is fundamentally, right? It's color.
Yeah.
It's right. But it's funny because I think also maybe the world, the painting world, the art world went through a crisis with the advent of photography, right?
Yeah.
And so it's they're like, what now? Like, what do we do now? Um, we like if we're trying to capture an essential part of reality, and it went from being a visual medium that captured what we see to now what else, what can we capture that photography can't, right? And maybe photography can't capture these abstract concepts, these feelings that we have. So we're desperately trying to find a way that our medium could do that, and that's where art, modern art, comes in. Again, just total my uneducated mind. That's what I think.
I guess
Yeah,
I would appreciate stuff like that more if there was no description for it and it was just like an untitled piece of art. Um,
sure.
because I feel like when artists specifically say that this is what this painting is supposed to convey, like emotionally, or like what it's supposed to represent,
Hmm.
then it's really hard to see that. It's really hard to believe that. And for me, my mind just automatically goes to this is bullshit. This is just you trying to come up with some stupid reason why your painting represents like loneliness or something like that.
Would it be worse if it was just the painting and then no explanation, no any no
No,
whatever?
no, I'm saying I think it would be better if there was no explanation and it was up
I
to
wonder if that's
interpretation.
I wonder if that's true. Because imagine going there and then you see the blobs of color and there's just nothing. It's just this is the piece. Uh, where would your mind go to in that moment? Then you'd be like, this really is bullshit, right? Like this is there's
Well,
nothing to it. At least trying to give you a framework, a way of interpreting it. Yes, it sounds like bullshit. It probably is. I like it when it is left to interpretation. I liked
yeah,
Rothko a lot. He's been pretty popular modern artist. He did a lot of like rectangles, like just colored rectangles. And I don't think he has any explanation or description for any of his pieces, which I like.
yeah.
And then it's kind of just up to you. How do you want to see this? What does it mean to you, right?
Yeah,
Um,
because I feel like when there's an explanation, then and you read it, it's really hard to get that out of your head and just be immersed in the mystery of whatever the piece is, which I
mhm,
think is something that's really valuable to art is mystery and not knowing everything about it. Like it's cool if there's a description on like how they made the photo or the painting or whatever it is, because
mhm.
that makes you appreciate um like the techniques and the effort that they put into making the piece of art. But like when it's a description about what the artist wants the audience to view, then I feel like that just takes away from the whole point of art, which is kind of like the mystery of it. And that's sort of the same thing that I feel about color photography. It feels almost too real.
Mhm.
Well, obviously it's real because it's a photograph, but I'm just drawn to black and white photography so much more because there's a lot of stuff missing from the photo, and that leaves a little bit of mystery and interpretation for you as the audience, as the viewer, which I think is an important part of art. So yeah, I would appreciate it if there was less descriptions, and it was just think of it however it makes you feel, you know?
Yeah. Well, I guess going back to what art was in the past, right? Say it was a portrait of someone, and they had died, right? This is kind of your only image of what they looked like, right? Um, and also with like landscapes, maybe there's a certain region in the world you were never going to visit, right? But you can go to a gallery or something, and now you're seeing it. You're seeing at least an attempt to capture it, right? And now, again, photography, it's not needed anymore. We can go online and see pictures of it. But so now what, again, it goes back to the emotional thing. Maybe they're trying to capture a state of mind, uh, the passage of time, like you said, in blobs of color, a bit ridiculous. But by giving it the context and that description, it serves a similar function to art in the past. So again, like they're trying, maybe trying to capture, you know, like, something about them that a photograph can't, right?
See,
That live on.
I understand.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
understand.
saying it justifies it. I'm not even saying that this is a good explanation or anything like that. It's just what I'm thinking of, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I should go and see some more modern art. I haven't seen some in a while. Maybe that would change my perspective. I'm sure it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, museums are always cool to walk around and have like an existential crisis in.
An existential crisis. Yeah,
Yeah.
of like, well, if you're looking at art that is obscure and confusing, uh, and you're feeling that way about yourself, maybe it does justice to your emotions,
Hmm. Yeah,
you
that's a
know?
good point. I don't know. It's just I'm not going to give up on my argument that the art world is too subjective. Um, because
Everything's subjective, isn't it? No.
no,
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 dude,
no.
that's a terrible argument, or that's a
I'm
terrible
not
thing to
making
live by.
I'm not making that argument.
No,
I'm not going to.
that makes me so mad when people are like, I have my own truth and you have your own truth. Everyone has
Mm,
their own realities. That's not
hmm.
true. So some things have to be objective. I'm not saying that everything has to be objective. Obviously, there are like some things like art that is one of the most subjective things ever. But there has to be some sort of objectivity in life overall. There has to be like one truth for some things at least. We can't all just be living in our own plastic world made up of our own imagination.
What are some of the truths? Are we like the laws of physics? Uh, the the presence of the nature of electrons? I don't know.
Yeah,
What
you
are
know?
things that,
Yeah, stuff like that.
right? Right.
Um,
Or, the sun is fueled by fusion reactions, right?
yeah,
These are all, you can't argue against that. It's not your interpretation, it's the truth, or that you're going to die, right? But
yeah.
those are facts. You argue against that all you want.
Yeah,
It's
I
not.
think it's safe to say that all science is truth, or like one big objective truth, and that's not like up for interpretation.
It's like the you're pursuing truth. I feel like I see science as an act. It's a continued act to try and prove and or disprove theories, right?
Hmm.
Testing things all the time and just chipping away and getting closer and closer at a better understanding of reality, right?
Yeah,
Because it's changing all the time. A great example of that, you know where I'm going with this?
I've been knowing where you're going with this.
You know where this is going. Uh, People for a very long time, people for a very long time, Sam, thought that the Earth was flat. They thought that the Earth was flat,
Right.
and then, and you can't blame them, can you? I mean, I couldn't. I'm
No.
sure if I existed long enough in the past, and probably not that long ago, I would have thought for sure that the Earth was flat.
Yeah, totally.
But
Yeah.
we know now that it's not, right? And yet there's overwhelming evidence to suggest that the Earth is in fact round. It's spherical,
Okay.
right?
I thought you
So
were gonna say there's evidence for the Earth being flat.
my
There's
first, well, apparently there is.
yeah,
Apparently
well,
there is.
it's not solid, but there's a lot of community members of the Flat Earth Society.
Yes,
Uh,
they're quite large. in recent time they
Yeah.
have grown. We're a little behind on this like bandwagon of getting interested in flat earthers. I think the apex of public interest in this has passed, but it's still important to us nonetheless.
Yeah.
And it's something that in the past, I tried to get involved in uh,
You
to
try to get
fuck
involved in the flat Earth. Oh yeah. Okay.
with them. Not that I
Yeah.
agreed with their arguments, but I just wanted
Right.
to infiltrate and understand them. I'm fascinated by these people that actively choose to believe in something that is just to us so wildly incorrect. What is it that's driving their interests and their passion and like the level of how vocal that they are about it? They want to just make you feel like you're an idiot for thinking that the earth is anything other than flat, right?
Do you think that the majority of these people genuinely believe that the Earth is flat, or that they're just doing it because they want to disprove something else that's already believed by the majority of the population?
I think that for the people who are the most influential in the flat earth community that they don't really believe it. But they have been able to sucker so many people, right?
Yeah.
They have this huge following, and with that comes power and influence, money, maybe donations for experiments, all kinds of things. But now people are paying attention to you, right?
Yeah.
And that I must feel good, right? Even if what you're doing is a shitty thing, you're lying, you're because I've listened to them talk. I forget some of the names of the people who are really big in it, but no, I don't think they actually believe it. I do think a lot of the people that listen to them, however, I think that they do. Um, and I think they do it. I remember I used to talk with a colleague of mine about this when I worked at the physics department at UCSC. Because I was telling him, I'm like, I'm fascinated by these people. I want to know what it is that got them to this point where they're believing this bullshit. Or are they just stupid? Are they dumb? And
Yes.
easily suckered? Or is it a little bit more than that? And it's like, I came up with this example of like a person who ends up being a flat earther, and maybe they're not stupid, but they go through education, they go through like elementary school, middle school, high school, whatnot, right? And they're in the science class, and maybe they're struggling a little bit, or they ask a question and they're like humiliated by it, or people in society put so much value in your success in STEM activities that if you didn't do good at it or you weren't super into it, you might be considered less intelligent, right, than
Yeah.
the people who are. So you maybe there's a way you kind of build a resentment towards the science community, because you might say, hey, this doesn't make sense. And if somebody's approach to informing you is kind of insulting, like, well, you're dumb for not realizing that, then you're like, all right, well, fuck you, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to turn the table then. I'm going to make you feel like an idiot. And one great way to do that is take this very foundational concept, the earth is round, and say, you know what? No, you're wrong. You're fucking wrong. You're the dumb one. And I'm going to prove it, right?
Yeah,
And it's
that's what I'm saying. I think most of the people that um believe this is out of a reluctance to just believe something that they're taught in school. It may be like some sort of personal vendetta against the like science academia, you know? Like
yeah,
they just want to believe the opposite, and they want to convert other people to
yeah.
believe that way.
Yeah. And when if you're gonna do that, well, the other thing too is, do they actually believe it? Right? Because I think you said earlier that you don't think they actually believe it, but they're just trying to say
Ugh,
fuck you.
I guess I guess like most of the people, like you said, people who have a strong influence maybe, who are doing debates online or like protesting or doing actual experiments, I don't think they actually believe it. But I think the people who are consuming like the media that they're putting out and listening to these people on podcasts or watching these debates or reading these articles are actually believing it because they're easily converted to to believe something
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, I think. it is, and the thing with an argument around the Earth being flat, I hate even saying that, is that from what I've seen in my experience, uh, when a flat earther is debating someone who a round earther, we'll call them,
Yeah.
uh, they'll often, the round earther will say, well, look at satellite pictures, right? Or you can see a ship disappear off the horizon as it goes out, right? And their counter arguments are like, well, prove that the satellite picture is real, right?
Yeah.
That's fake. It's doctored. It's a photoshopped image.
No, it's
Or with the
that's most of their arguments. I'm telling you, it's just reluctance to believe something. Just
right,
because it's
it's
presented to
denial.
us, like they don't want to believe it.
No, no, and then the round earther is like, well, now what do I say? Well, what about the sun, right? Where does that go when it sets, right? If the Earth is flat, it just goes off the edge of the disk. How is it that one half of the world is at night and the other is experiencing the daytime?
Mhm.
With a round Earth model, that's kind of hard to prove, right? Like, if it's a disk and the sun is up, it would blanket the whole disk, right? How is it that it's able to just select whatever portion of the Earth is actually experiencing the daytime?
Yeah.
I don't know how they uh, argue that. I'm sure they have their reason.
What,
I'm
flat
sure they're dumb.
earthers?
Flat Earthers, right? How do they
Well,
account for that?
they probably just say, well, how do we know that that's how the sun works?
Oh, how do we know that the other half of the Earth is in fact experiencing nighttime? I
Yeah.
think that one
I,
could be that one's pretty hard to. I don't think they
I
would
just
pull.
don't think
I mean,
I
maybe
just don't
some
think they
would,
believe
but
in any processes at all. Uh, and they just question everything. I think that's like the basis for all of their arguments is just to question everything and not believe a single thing.
yeah. Well, they have done experiments. I've seen there was a documentary that came out a few years ago where I think they did like two experiments. One was they purchased this gyroscope or something, right? That would, I want to say it would show that the Earth is rotating, maybe. And so it changes because it's a gyroscope. It wants to maintain its initial starting position. And it showed that the Earth was rotating, which they didn't want, or whatever the result was, it wasn't what they had anticipated.
Hmm.
And then I'm sure they come up with some explanation. Oh, it's faulty or whatever. And then the other one was they shown a laser. They shot a laser beam across
I
like
saw that one.
was it like a lake bed or a lake or something? Some
Yeah.
body of water, as you know, is flat, right? And it also I don't think proved or showed what they had
No.
hoped.
You proposed an experiment
Oh
idea
yeah,
to prove flat Earth.
I did. Yeah, the world's largest level was my was my idea. So we could start a GoFundMe and try and get as many levels as possible, and then I'll just put them all together. If we make a really long straight object, like a straight line, just goes off into the horizon, what better way to prove if the Earth is flat or not than to build just the longest stretch, right? And if it's totally level,
We can start a GoFundMe, dude.
that's the ultimate experiment. And we could sucker all these flat earthers. We'll get them to give us their levels. Think about it. The great level crisis of the flat Earth community.
Yeah, there's gonna be like a level shortage.
They're gonna be like, "Fuck, where are all the levels?" Oh, it's for the flat Earth experiment.
Dude,
Uh,
that could be like that could be iconic. That could be historical.
I think it would be funny if we wrote a bunch of science departments at renowned universities proposing this experiment to see their response of oh, what the fuck, right?
Yeah,
Uh, I think that would be funny as fuck, but
they're gonna be
that's
blown away. They're
gonna be
like, wow, I
astonished.
can't believe we didn't think of that.
Yeah, yeah, because we needed proof.
Yeah.
We needed a way to test if the Earth is flat or not because we're still wondering. Um,
Yeah, dude, I told you, like, even if you want to mess with the flat Earth community and try to come up with some sort of new theory or experiment, it takes a lot of research, whether it's real research or not. that's backed up by evidence, it still takes a lot of extensive details to make a compelling argument.
Has to be a lot of creativity
Yeah,
involved, right? I don't think there's anything that we can think of that they haven't already thought of that
the
would
world's largest
explain.
level. That's original.
Well, I thought we were thinking more along the lines of a model for the flat Earth that accounts for the things
Right.
like the Earth, the sun, daylight being on one half of the Earth and not the other, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Um, I love too that the ice wall theory they have, right? So like the poles are really just part of an ice wall, and then out beyond that, the world continues on.
Yeah.
It's a whole
Yeah.
other realm we don't even know about. Uh,
I think it would be interesting if we propose the idea that the world is flat, but there's two sides to the world.
yeah,
There,
there's
there's
the
people.
top and the bottom, and then
Yeah.
the side. There's the perimeter, and then we can have the top people, the bottom people, and then the side people, right?
Yeah.
And the bottom people and the side people are united, but we have been isolated from them because of some ancient conflict we don't remember. Some dumb shit like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
We could propose that the Earth is a sphere, but it's much larger than we realize. So if it's
there's like undiscovered like land.
oh, here's a new theory: the infinite sphere theory. So the Earth is the Earth
Oh
is a
my gosh.
sphere, but its diameter is fucking infinite. So by that, that's true, then our being up on our portion of it, surrounded by the ice wall, is flat, but the Earth is still round. Technically, it's the world's largest sphere. It's so big that it's level. Think about that.
So we're just like trapped in like a wall.
Yeah. So like think about so the Earth is an infinitely large sphere,
Okay.
and then we are just on that surface, that infinitely large surface area, and but we have a little ring that is the Earth, so it's flat,
Okay.
but it's not because it's on the world's largest sphere. The universe is the infinite sphere. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't make sense,
I
idiot.
think it's a
Wait,
great. I mean,
so does that theory work towards proving flat Earth or round Earth?
well, we should propose it to a flat earther.
We should say that the Earth is both flat and round. That we
This
live
is
on a flat piece of the Earth in an infinitely round like globe.
this is like a unified field theory for physics. Like, uh, how do you account for quantum mechanics? Like, how do you make quantum mechanics work with relativity?
Right.
And so now we're like bridging the flat Earth world with the round Earth world and saying it's both, right?
Okay.
This could be a great way for us to change their opinions on everything. Like we whittle
Well,
them away. We get them to believe these different models, and each model gets closer and closer to the truth. So we start with the infinite sphere model and say the Earth is flat. You're right, but it's not. It's also on an infinitely large sphere. And they say, okay, all right, we can see that.
yeah.
Then you go, okay, upon further research, we don't think that the sphere the Earth's surface on is actually infinitely large. It's still very, very large, but there is a degree of curvature now. They say, okay, well, that's fair. That's close enough. And then we say the sphere that the Earth's surface is on is actually much smaller than we thought. It's so
So
small, in
so
fact.
so you eventually just bring them back into like the normal
Yeah.
round Earth theory.
The final one is it turns out, believe it or not, the sphere that the Earth's surface is on is actually the same, like the surface of the Earth totally covers the sphere.
I remember when we were first coming up with this idea of like infiltrating a flat Earth group and proposing our own theories. I remember you came up with bull Earth theory.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
th
bull
that would
Earth.
be interesting to get into as well.
bowl Earth theory, that one's tricky because assuming that the Earth's surface lies within the interior of the bowl, one would expect then to see the Earth curve up, which
Okay, well then what if it's on the
or it's a very
exterior?
shallow. It's either on the exterior,
Yeah, it's on the
so a portion of
exterior.
the Earth is flat and then it curves off, right? Or
Yeah.
it's a very shallow bowl, very, very shallow. But I don't think we're going to make any progress with that. I don't think I don't think we're going to accomplish anything. I think the infinite sphere theory and then to the finite sphere theory, the is is maybe I think that's probably where we'll find the most success with if our
Yeah.
objective is to convince all of them that they're wrong.
Yeah. And then revert them, yeah, revert them back to reality.
We could do a step-by-step plan on like how to convert a flat earther to a round earther,
Yeah, we could
and
do a
it'll
12
be
step plan.
yeah,
We could do the 12
like
steps.
AA. We'll
Yeah.
do the AA. Uh,
Yeah.
what's the first step is um, we admitted we were powerless, right? So we get them to admit
Yeah. Yeah,
that
we
they
they're like recovering flat earthers.
yeah, we could start the I say it FEA, Flat Earthers Anonymous.
Yeah.
Uh and yeah, and it's we could write like an AA book on how to get help, how to get better. Like we'll go and say there are resources available for you.
I guess it's
Uh
sort of a mental illness to believe that,
right.
right?
You would think there's a degree of some mental illness going. There's certainly a degree of a lack of well-being, I would say, if you're someone who believes that.
Yeah.
Something's probably not right. But they hate it. They would hate it to hear me say that, I'm sure, because they're like, oh, you think we're fucking crazy? Well, you're the one who's crazy, right?
Yeah.
How dare you? And that would just fuel them further, I think, if I start saying that, if we come to them and say you're mentally ill, um, that they'll just dig themselves deeper in that trench of the flat earth.
And they start
Uh,
questioning everything.
and then they start questioning everything again, and they
Yeah.
start making you out to be the dumb one, right?
I
um
think I think we have a solid plan.
yeah, I think we can like we can make illustrations with the infinite sphere earth model. um we can write out our plan on how to then over time reduce the diameter of the sphere from infinite to finite, and then add degrees of curvature slowly over time,
Yeah.
uh, so that it ends with the correct model. Um, because the Earth is round. Funny enough, it's not a perfect sphere. It's far from, obviously the surface has texture, but even if it were perfectly smooth, I think also it's a little bit squashed. It's like because of the Earth rotating, I think.
I don't think we live on a ball.
Oh, you don't?
Not, well, I don't think it's like a smooth ball that we live on. Obviously, I know that.
No, but obviously it has texture. But I'm saying that even if it were like with the texture, it's still like it's a little bit squished. Like it's a little bit, the diameter is larger on the horizon in comparison to the axis of rotation, I think.
You said
Uh,
because it's spinning, because it's rotating.
I
That
think so.
happens.
And there are other factors too, like I'm sure the gravitational pull of the sun and the moon, maybe. But then again, I don't know. I just know the rotation thing, I think. Um, yeah. Um, I'm already picturing in my mind what the infinite sphere theory is going to look like.
You should draw up a model. You should sketch some stuff.
I could, yeah, I should, and then I'll go on some Facebook group and I'll see what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna work. They'll hate it.
No,
They'll fucking hate it.
you should go on like Fiverr or something like that and hire someone to make like a digital model or something, like some like graphic
Mm.
design shit.
Oh wow. Yeah. Commissioning flat earth art. Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. What other things exist aside from flat earth model believers or whatever? What's another thing people believe that is kind of similar in that it's about, you know, saying fuck you to science or
Like
um
I don't know, the moon landing, is that like similar or no?
uh hmm, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean the moon landing, that's a little bit like I'm not saying I'm on their side, the side of people who don't think who think that we never landed on the moon. But I can understand why it would be hard to believe that we did, right? I
Yeah.
mean that is a monumental accomplishment or just feat of engineering, especially because it was done in, I think Apollo 11 landed on the moon in 1969. Uh, that I mean, that's really impressive. But 100 years ago, it was 1869. We're coming out of the Civil War still. We're still recovering. And you think how much changed. It must have been amazing to have lived through that time period where if you were born in like the late 1800s and you saw uh, the beginnings of the Industrial Revolution or kind of just getting in growing in such amazing intensity, the advent and popularization of electricity, um, internal combustion engines,
Hmm.
synthetic materials, the nature of warfare, right? Medicine, modern medicine, all of these things. I mean, it's incredible. And then, we are where we are now. I remember thinking like we were kind of done with the advancement of technology. I thought
This
I
is
was
as
like,
good as
this
it
is it.
gets.
This is as good as it gets. Every other like the Renaissance and the medieval period and the 1950s were times when things were getting better, and now we kind of reached the point where
Whoa.
it's
The
it's
heck?
it.
Yeah.
But obviously that's not true, and it's interesting to think now where we are. At some point in the future, people will look back and think, "Oh man, what was it like to live in the 2020s? It was so
Yeah.
much different. It must have been so much more difficult. Assuming things continue to get better, uh, then that's going to happen." And so I catch myself sometimes looking around and thinking, I'm almost in a period piece because at some point where we are now will be that, right? It'll be set
Yeah.
in 2024, right? Well, I'm living in that right now. So people who lived in the 1920s could have done the same thing. And I'm sure some people were like taking in the special nature of where you are right now. Um,
Yeah. Something something that I think about is we're living in a time that is the best documented we've ever had. And
mhm.
things weren't as well documented in the 1900s or the 1800s. So obviously technology will keep advancing, but people in the future are going to have a way better knowledge and understanding of what it was like in the 2020s than we do right now of the 1920s.
Yeah, imagine like having these like what we're doing right now, like recording a conversation. Imagine being able to watch that from somebody who lived 1,000 years ago. All the things that you could notice, all the differences, the peculiarities. There's so much, almost like with art or black and white photography, there's a lot that we don't know about people who lived before us.
Right.
And that's kind of going away now, right? People in the future, they're going to know a lot about us. And then our analytics from what we did when we were on our phone and our internet uh, usage and things like that are very telling. Um, and we are in the first kind of generation of people to have the ability to so easily document ourselves, I think, with such clarity. Like obviously, TV and movies and motion picture films have existed for like 100 years or more, right?
Mhm.
But now it's so easy. Everybody can do it, right?
Yeah,
It's gonna be interesting. You know what we're doing right now when we're dead in 500 years. People are gonna be like, oh, you know,
yeah.
this is what some
It's
randos were talking about at some point. How interesting.
yeah. It could be a good thing and a bad thing. It's a gift and a curse. With how much access we have to other people's lives and how easy it is to see videos or pictures from another part of the world that people 100 years ago would have never gotten a hold of. Um, it's great. It's
It's
really
double
cool.
edged.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like it takes away um, like our longing and our desire to discover things for ourselves and the the yearning to want to learn because everything
Sure.
is just so easily in front of us, so easily accessible. It kind of shoots that down.
I'm sure you've heard it said too, where people will say, too, uh, what is it? Too late to explore the Earth, and then too early to explore space. You're kind of in this shitty in between of like
Yeah,
everything on Earth has been photographed at this point, really,
yeah,
or studied. You could say the ocean is an exception, right? Obviously, there are many remote parts of the world that people probably haven't physically been to, but with things like Google Earth and so on and satellite imaging, we pretty much know what's there. And well, maybe not, right? There's trees and foliage and things like that that obscure other things. But you get the idea, right?
yeah. But the majority of things have been learned uh, and already discovered, so it's
I
kind of
guess
lack.
maybe if you're exploring the Earth, you're not the one discovering something new, maybe, but you're discovering it for yourself, right? Like the famous scene in Good Will Hunting where he's talking to Will about how he doesn't know what the Sistine Chapel smells like,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
things like that.
Good
So
example.
you know what's there maybe, but unless you've actually been there, you don't really know what it's like. So it becomes more an effort of personal discovery.
Yeah,
Um, I like to think of it like that, maybe. Um,
I guess I'm more pessimistic about it than you are.
I understand though. I know. I think I know how. Get into build your own Titan submersible and then go to the Titanic or something. Go explore the ocean in a carbon fiber tube that implodes because you're a fucking idiot.
No, dude, the ocean terrifies me, man. I don't want to go inside the ocean. I hardly even want to go like swimming in the ocean, dude. The ocean is scary.
A fear of uncertainty. It is scary. It's pretty fucking scary.
Well, I'm not scared of the uncertainty, dude. I know what's out there. I know what kind of stuff is out there, and I also know that I'm prone to drowning. So I don't want to drown or get eaten or something like that. So I'm good. I don't want to have anything to do with the ocean. I'm good.
You're prone to drowning.
Yeah. Dude, I went there's a couple instances. I went cliff diving after a long hike here in San Diego. Um, I jumped off the cliff and there's this small body of water. It's quite deep, and obviously after you land in the water, you have to swim back to like some rocks if you want to get out of the water. I was swimming and I got like halfway and I ran out of breath. And I started drowning. And I was like terrified. And I was like, dude, this is the most scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And then I went to the lake in Arizona. My friend owns a boat, and we were driving on the lake, and they wanted to get out of the boat, swim over to rocks and then climb up, kind of like the same thing, climb up onto a cliff and then jump off the cliff. So I get out of the boat and I'm swimming, and again, like halfway through, I don't know, like, am I just retarded or something? I don't know. Like, I know how to swim. I was swimming just fine. I just ran out of breath, and all of the energy from my body just left me, and I was flailing about in the water, just gonna accept my death. But someone saved me, so it's all good. But yeah, swimming, ocean, deep bodies of water, I'm good. I'll stay away from it.
I wonder if you suddenly drowning or struggling is from physical exhaustion or a combination of that and the mental awareness of the danger you are in that
Could be that. I also have
kind of
asthma, so maybe
paralyzing.
it's that too.
Yeah, I mean, I it makes sense now because I remember we spoke in the past on another episode, I think, about what we thought were the worst ways to die, right? And you
Yeah,
mentioned
drowning.
drowning, the first one
Yeah.
that came to mind, and you because you might want you probably mentioned that because you have a little bit of experience how that kind of feels.
I think just like suffocation in general, any way that you can suffocate, any like deprivation of air, like really frightens me to die like that.
Your mind goes into panic mode, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Apparently, things like helium and nitrogen, if you inhale those gases, I think your mind isn't aware of the lack of oxygen. So you would die, but you wouldn't, I think, have that moment of panic.
Hmm.
Um, so
Interesting.
it's popular in I think the world of euthanasia. They'll sell like a kit, market it as something
Hmm.
else, but really it's for that.
Yeah,
Um,
another instance where I felt like I was suffocating. I'm not a claustrophobic person. Uh, I mean, because for pest control, like I was in crawl spaces and in attics and like really tight spaces where
mhm.
you can't turn your body like 180 degrees. You have to lay flat in a lot of situations. So I'm not a claustrophobic person, but the most recent concert I went to, I was in the front of the crowd and I could not breathe and I was terrified. I thought I was gonna get trampled to death. I thought I was gonna lose all of my oxygen and I was just gonna die in the middle of the dance floor like some coward, some idiot.
No, it's a crowd crush, right? Isn't that what it's
Yeah.
called when
Yeah,
people die that way?
that's terrifying too. Because before I went there, this was recent. This is like a couple years ago in Japan or some country in Asia. There was like a huge like parade or something like that, and thousands of people died because of how many people there were. There were people like shoulder to shoulder for like really long stretches of these streets that people either got trampled or they like suffocated, and that just terrifies me. That whole idea, deprivation of airspace, terrifies me a lot.
Yeah, or being buried alive.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be
Uh,
terrible too.
right. I remember being pretty fucking scared of that when I was younger. I thought if I was asleep for too long, people would bury me alive. They thought I would be dead. Um, they're uh, have you seen like those old grave sites or heard about them where people would put in like a viewing glass into the casket or rig like a cord to like a bell on the surface so in the event that the person was buried alive they could notify people above ground that that
Oh
they
my
hadn't
gosh.
actually died because there
Yeah,
was a lot of
because
fear around that because people really thought that was a possibility. I think
well, what
yeah,
wasn't that a true thing though? Like a lot of people were getting buried and they weren't actually dead yet, so that's why they had to do that.
I'm sure it's happened. um if you think about we're talking about back in the day, how do you pronounce someone dead? What are the things you look for? Responsiveness, heart rate, right, and breathing and things like that.
Right.
If you're in, I don't know, some if you sustained a major head injury or if you're in a coma, I don't know what it is, some state that you're in where being able to pick up on things like breath and heart rate become really difficult, or if it's a certain someone's build, or maybe they weren't even looking for those things. and they just said, "This guy seems dead," you know.
Yeah.
That
And
is
you wake
terrible.
up in a coffin 6 feet
Yeah,
in the ground.
yeah, and you're fucked. And then you're actually gonna be dead. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's horrible because then you got to live for however much time you have left, however much air you have left, just knowing that you're gonna die.
right, right. How long does that take? That's not fun to think
And
about.
what do you do? You just like
Panic.
think?
You would just think, you'd just be like, yeah, shit, all right, well, this is
Because there's
it.
no way that you could just end it sooner, even if you wanted to. You know what I mean? You're not going to be buried with something to kill yourself.
No, no, you wouldn't have shit. You would just have your own thoughts, and then you'd slowly die.
Jeez, that
Uh,
sounds awful.
I know. I've seen like, like pictures of people who died in like the catacombs or something. So they were wandering around, and maybe their flashlight died, and they just, you know, it's sort of similar. Or you can move now, but now
Yeah.
you're stuck. You're lost. You could scream all you want. No one's gonna hear you. And then you slowly die. Think about
It
that's
seems that we talk about death quite often.
it's an important thing. It happens all
Yeah.
the time. It happens
Memento
all the time.
mori.
Right. Remember, you must die. Is that what that
Yeah.
is in Latin?
Yeah, it's like a
Uh,
reminder of death.
so that Mac Miller music video where he's buried alive, and it says like he carves into the top of the casket "Memento Mori" or something.
Right. Yeah.
Then he punches his way out. It's quite deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thoughts of these things are common.
Yeah. Speaking of death, I watched a really long documentary about death. Uh,
Oh, did you watch the whole thing, or did you part of it?
I watched 4.5 hours of it, of this nine and a half hour documentary about the Holocaust. And I read someone's review about it, and they said that this documentary is less about the Holocaust and more about death.
Hmm.
Which I think is interesting. It's so hard to watch. That's why I have not finished it, just because it's brutal. Um, and there's not enough artisticness in it that outweighs the bad parts of it. And it's not just that, like, it's not bad in any way. Like, it's really well made. There's beautiful music and beautiful cinematography in the movie, but that doesn't outweigh like the brutality of some of these people's stories. Uh, he's interviewing old people, old survivors, and there's not many of them. And this was filmed maybe like 30 years after the Holocaust. And some of these people that survived, he's taking them back to the locations where everything happened and interviewing them there, which is even worse. It's like so hard to wrap your mind around that and then watch these people talk about their experiences. It's so insane to watch like an 80-year-old man cry and sob. It's so hard to watch an old person cry. Like, oh, it's disgusting. It's awful. But it's a great documentary about death, I will have to say. And
Yeah,
like, I guess the specifics about why it's so much about death. Um, um, Aside from the methods used to kill a large population of people, such as burning or whatever. It's also about like this deprivation that their people had of not giving their people proper burial or proper, I don't know, care of their corpses. A lot of these survivors were talking about how Nazis were not, they didn't even let them use the word corpse or body like to uh to call these people that they were brutally killing. It's like these are not corpses or bodies. These are dust. This is dirt.
mm,
Like you're not allowed to say that at all. Like you're not allowed to properly bury them. Uh so I don't know, it's really intense how much like thought and effort and schematics were behind like the whole process of the Holocaust. Like it was just purely psychological. Because they could have just killed all these people, but they went the extra mile to make sure that you were not allowed to mourn, you're not allowed to grieve, you're not allowed to visit these people's bodies because we're gonna we're gonna grind their bones into ashes and you're gonna throw them in the river so that there's no evidence of them ever existing ever, which is just so dark and so insane.
Hmm. Well, yeah, that's fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's awful, dude.
That is awful.
It's so awful. It's terrible.
Yeah. Wow. God. I mean, fuck. It's weird you saying that. Now I want to kind of want to watch it too.
It's really great. And I'm not gonna say I didn't understand or respect the Holocaust before. Obviously, I did. The Holocaust is never funny. It's never a light conversation. It's a very serious thing that happened. But watching this puts it into a new perspective for sure.
Yeah.
Um, like the weight of everything, the
And how
seriousness of it.
and how far the Nazis went to dehumanize the
Yeah,
victims.
yeah, for sure. It's
You're not
insane.
even people, you don't, you're nothing to us. You should
Yeah,
never have existed.
yeah,
And we're making it our goal to see that through. Uh, is an insane thing that and that so many people were convinced that what they were doing was the right thing to do is
yeah,
a tragic. I don't know how.
yeah.
And that this wasn't that long ago
No,
that
it
all that
wasn't.
took
It
place.
was less than 100 years ago.
Less than 100 years ago, people were all gung ho, and a lot of people were like, "This is it. This is what
Yeah,
we deserve. This
yeah,
a whole group of ethnic people should all die."
yeah. It kind of bringing up
Mm,
a topic we already discussed about death as a form of like relief. A lot of these survivors were begging to be killed because they could not like bear the circumstances that they were under, which was a lot of the people were forced to bury these bodies or burn them. And of course, that involved like their own family members. So a lot of these survivors are talking about like when I saw my family members, I asked them over and over again to kill me and they would not kill me. So like being forced to continue to live like that and wanting to be relieved and just die and be with your family in death was not a possibility. Like you could not get that, which is it's so brutal. But there was one survivor that tugged at my heartstrings. He was actually the guy who was sobbing, and he before he was sobbing and after he was smiling quite a lot. And the interviewer, the director of this movie, asked him, he's like, "Why are you smiling so much?" He's like, "Well, I'm alive." He's like, "So I'm not gonna waste my life crying. Like I might as well smile." You know? And I was like, wow,
mm.
that's
Well,
great that he can continue to live his life after all that happened and have the strength to smile.
yeah,
So life is a gift.
almost very stoic of him to say, we don't, what is it like? We don't have total control over our circumstances or what life is putting us through, but we have the choice to change how we respond or how we interpret it,
Yeah.
or feel about it, that we do have some control over. So why choose to stay negative? Um, Embrace the positive. I'm sure there's a lot of survivor's guilt among people too who survive, right? Uh, it's fucking awful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no. Oh, well, the first 4.5 hours are free on YouTube if you ever want to watch it.
I think I'll have to do that.
It's great.
Oh my,
Aside from the content of it, it's a great film. Five stars for me so far. I don't know if I'll finish it soon, maybe down the road sometime in my life, but 5 stars from what I've seen so far. It's really good.
Nice. Fuck. Yeah. My God, I'm tired as fuck.
Oh yeah, you're tired from what? From work?
From work, from life. Um,
From life?
Too much coffee, not enough food. It's weird. I must have like ADHD or something because like I drink a lot of coffee today. Now I'm like low energy.
I read that coffee is really healthy for you.
Black coffee specifically might be
Yeah,
where it's at.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Black coffee. I read that like multiple cups of black coffee a day is like really good for you.
really. I
Yeah,
have a cup right here. Matter of fact, I didn't want it to be black, mind you. I but like I went to this fucking place and they didn't have any cream or sugar out. I was like, oh, okay, I guess. But I forget it doesn't taste bad. It's
yeah. I think
different.
I think I told you before. You don't strike me as a creamer in your coffee kind of guy.
I think I strike people as someone who I'm not most of the time. It's the facade. When you get
Yeah,
to know me, you're repulsed.
yeah.
That's my outlook on how that's how I see it. I think you're just seeing the image of the guy who doesn't put creamer in his coffee, but you get to know me and you're like, oh, this guy definitely puts creamer in his coffee.
Well, you weren't always like that though. You used to only drink black coffee, right?
I did, yeah, for a long time. I thought it was uh well, there was a period of time where I was just too lazy to get creamer. I kept forgetting that I needed it, that I wanted it. So every time I made coffee in the morning, I was like, oh, fuck, that's right. I didn't have any creamer. But when I was really into brewing coffee, it's like you want to you want to taste what you put this effort into and not have anything interfering that, right? You want it like when you start to fine tune your process, it's really rewarding to get like a good solid cup of coffee that you don't feel like needs creamer, right?
Right.
To make it bearable. It's not like Folgers being brewed in a Mr. Coffee. It's like, oh, these nice light roast single origin beans from Peru that I hand grinded, a minute before brewing with my burr grinder. And I got the grind size just dialed in, and I have the water temperature is dialed in, and the type of water is dialed in,
Yeah.
and then your brew method, right? Like you use it a pour over. What kind of pour over is it? Is it a Hario V60 or something? Is it a Chemex? What kind of paper filters are you using? And then what's your brew method like? Do you do the initial pour and then you wait like 30 seconds for it to like bloom and then you do the second pour? Um, like all these factors that you can kind of toy with and play around with. And then you taste your cup each day and you're like, oh, I did this thing differently or whatever. And whatever. And then you find what you like. That process was fun. I remember it was a little frustrating because I kept wanting to drink more coffee. I liked making coffee so much that I would make many cups throughout the day, far more than I needed or should have had. But I did it because it
Yeah.
was enjoyable.
Yeah, my friend and I talked about how the majority of the appeal to us of like drinking black coffee is the ritual of making it, especially
Hmm.
if you're doing it daily, like every morning. Like there's something like romantic and like ritualistic about that whole process of making your own coffee that
Hmm.
makes it more enjoyable and more personal than going to like some hipster shop and getting some crappy coffee for $8.
Yeah. Yeah. That was me earlier today. I did that twice. I got two cups from two different places that were overpriced, and the first one was terrible. I was like, God,
Of course it was. Yeah,
this
did
is
you get like a bunch
awful.
of creamer and crap in it?
No, no. I had it both black. This first one, uh,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, this
Uh,
kind of makes me want to brew more coffee now. God damn.
you should, dude. Screw the hipster shops, bro. I hate that shit. Uh, I when I went to New York, the first thing I wanted to do was get a cup of coffee because I had been up since like 4 a.m. and I was on a 5 hour train ride to New York. So the closest coffee shop from the train station where we got off, I was like, let's go there. We go there. I just wanted a cold brew because it was hot, with like nothing in it. So it wasn't like some hipster drink. And I get it, and the coffee is in a bag. It's not in a cup. The coffee's in a bag with a straw coming out of the bag. And I was like, what the hell is this, dude? Are you kidding me right now? This is the most hipster thing I've ever seen in my life. This is ridiculous. This is like heresy, dude. This is ridiculous. I hated it, but I drank it still. It was fine. But yeah, I was like, this pisses me off so much, dude. Just because like hipster places like that try to do extra shit all the time,
To
and it's
be different.
ridiculous. Yeah, dude, they just want to be like edgy and cool. It's like up your coffee drinking experience, but it's unnecessary.
I got a homeless person yelling outside my apartment. Awesome. When they make when you're trying to make like adjustments to how you distribute a product and you're a hipster, I would feel like a motivating factor, what you're striving for is um like environmental friendliness. And if you're making it up from a bag in a bag, and we're trying to get away from plastics and things, where's the justification for that? I don't know.
For me, when I got it, uh it seemed like a novelty that people will take pictures of and post on their Instagram stories. Like I'm drinking coffee out of a bag. That seemed like the biggest appeal to me. That has to be the reason why they're doing it.
Yeah, this isn't about, revolutionizing how we distribute coffee. This is about making money and being different, right? Yeah, and
Yeah,
getting
for
getting
sure.
public into
100%. 100%. Because most
yeah.
places now don't even care about the product. They don't even care about the quality of the coffee or the food or cafe or whatever. It's all about the atmosphere and the aesthetics of the actual shop itself because they're thinking, will this look good like in a photograph of someone like on their Instagram story? Like will this be good background for someone's coffee picture that they post? Who cares about the
Yeah.
coffee? You know, we'll get it from Albertsons and we'll upsell it and upcharge people. But as long as our atmosphere and aesthetics and we have some banging music playing, then we're gonna make money, which is sad because that's the reality.
It's fascinating how much people's perception and how much value they place in something depends on the context and the environment that it's found in. Um, I'm sure there are plenty of studies that show things like, well, you've probably seen it where people will pretend to start this like high-end clothing store, and it's all like shitty stuff from Ross or something. But
Yeah,
people think like, oh, this must be some grand designer piece and it's beautiful,
yeah,
and they're only thinking that because of how it's being presented. Same goes for coffee shops and things. You bring a cup of coffee, say, "Hey, this is from an AA meeting down the street," and then but it's the same cup, and then you say, "Oh, hey, this is from some high end looking fucking Instagram designed cafe," and they're like, This one's the fucking bomb.
I
This is
would
you know."
I would much rather get a cup of coffee from an AA meeting than some hipster place. 100%. That sounds dope.
That'd be funny if we took you to an AA meeting and you just said you're an addict.
I'm
Uh,
just here for the coffee.
I'm just here for the coffee. I've heard so many people say that. Dude, I had a guy
Uh,
I saw recently who was saying that like it's almost like he slipped out that he had been going to AA, and he's like, "Oh, but I only go for the coffee." Like, come on, it's okay to be in AA. It's not, you don't have to say you're there for the coffee. And if you are, that's unfortunate, you know.
yeah, it's like Tyler Durden from Fight Club, where he's going to
Mhm.
like that like STD like whatever like meeting, but he doesn't have one. He's just there for like getting hugs,
Yeah, the,
right?
the emotional support, there's a sense of community.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's a shared suffering. So maybe the reason you're suffering isn't the same, but you're also suffering. So you kind of feel connected by that, right?
yeah,
I think, yeah, that's funny though. Yeah, I'm sure there are people who go to AA meetings who aren't really alcoholics, maybe, they're, but they do it because again, it feels good.
yeah.
And maybe if you don't actually struggle with drinking and you're able to stop, but you're getting congratulated about your sobriety, it's probably a really nice feeling. But then, of course, you
You
also have many members who are deeply alcoholic and need it, you
you,
know.
you go to what, an NA meeting? Narcotics Anonymous?
Yeah, I do. But I never did any hard drugs or anything. But I have
Yeah.
struggled with alcoholism for a long time.
So is there a
Yeah.
reason you're going to an NA meeting instead of an AA meeting?
Well, the reason I'm going to this one is funny because I did it out of a reaction to when my ex stole all my shit. And I came back to the apartment and I was just devastated and I needed to go somewhere to feel like heard. And I Googled meetings nearby and I thought it was an AA meeting. So I ran over there, literally ran and came in and I sat down and then they say, welcome to like NA. And I'm like, oh, fuck, but I'll stay. I went up and spoke and I just poured my heart out and just described my situation. And I got like a round of applause and everything. And they were super supportive. And people gave me their phone numbers and said, hey, we're here for you. And, but when I went up, I think the first thing that I had said was, I'm not, I'm an alcoholic. I didn't realize this was NA. My bad, but I'm an addict, so maybe I'll speak. And
Yeah,
they were great. They said, no, please come back. And they what it was we were addicted to is different, but the kind of devastation that our addictions left uh, are very similar. And for many of them, it's much worse than what I've experienced. And so they have a lot of advice, and they know what it feels like, the guilt, the shame. It's immense. Uh, so you feel heard and appreciated. I probably will go to AA meetings more now, just because it's a little, it's a little more. They would know better how to help, right? Because alcohol is its own beast and
yeah. But
has its own.
nonetheless, it's still like a good sense of community for you to
Exactly.
be a part of.
Yeah, it's an ongoing struggle, to go and to keep it up. It can be really hard. And for people who don't know, it's like I wish they could understand what it's
Yeah,
like. Um, it is it's tragic. It's cost me a lot of good things in my life. Probably a lot of the best things I ever had going for me, I lost because of my addiction, and that sucks. You know, relationships, my education, all that was just almost destroyed. There's a lot of sad shit in this fucking episode, huh?
yeah.
But
We're getting. Remember, this is a road to ourselves, and this is a coping mechanism for you, apparently.
it is a coping mechanism. Yeah, I
Uh,
just like being able to
if you
talk.
want, if you want though, I can try to turn this around. So we can put out an incentive for every subscriber that we get. You'll have one less drink, or you'll smoke one less cigarette.
Yeah, yeah. My health and my journey forward, the success of it depends on how many subscribers we get. So if we don't have any success, then I'm gonna die from alcohol.
Yeah. So
Oh my God.
everybody who doesn't subscribe is killing Alec.
This is a point of the channel now, is like the Save Alec channel from his
Yeah.
own
Yeah. We
demons.
Alec is begging for subscribers to keep him alive.
Oh my God. No,
Uh,
there's hope to be found. Like there is
yeah,
recovery is possible. Like to meet so many people who are, but you know what never really goes away is, well, you're always an addict. You'll never hear someone who's honest in AA say, I was an alcoholic. You're always an alcoholic, even if you've been sober for years.
right.
You're always that beast is within you. That dog is in you. That alcoholic dog is in you.
Yeah,
It,
you could say it like that, I guess.
it never goes away, man. You're always one. Yeah, that's what hurts the most, I guess. Yeah, I still got time. 24. I turned 25 in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
So
dude, you're old, bro. You're hella old. My
I'm fine.
gosh. Yeah, bro, you're gonna die soon, dude.
I know. I know. This could be cool. One of the things is on this podcast, we'll just document my journey through alcoholism. See if I've
Yeah,
gotten out.
P people are gonna be along for the ride, dude, for the character arc. Because
The
upward trend.
the upward trend of but you too. You may not be an addict, but we have things to
Yeah,
work on.
I have stuff that needs to get fixed.
Yeah.